You're pouring $12 into a bottle of snake oil every single oil change, and the people selling it to you are laughing all the way to the bank. I'm going to say something that's going to make a few corporate lawyers very unhappy this morning. Engine oil stabilizers are one of the biggest scams in the automotive aftermarket industry. And I can prove it with nothing more than a basic understanding of fluid mechanics, a $5 bottle of the right product, and about 40 years of documented SAE testing data that these companies are praying you never read. Before they ban this kind of content, and trust me, the lobbying pressure on platforms like this to suppress mechanic-to-mechanic talk is real, I want you to understand what is actually happening inside your engine when you dump that bright green goo into your crankcase. Because here's what nobody at the parts counter is telling you. Your engine does not need a stabilizer. It never did. What it needs is oil that was formulated correctly from the start. And guess what? That oil already exists. It costs less than a Big Mac combo. And the additive companies have been bleeding you dry for decades, keeping you from figuring that out. Stick with me. This is going to change how you spend money on your truck for the rest of your life. Let me tell you exactly who the villain is, and when this started, and how the trap was set. The year is 1968. The API, that's the American Petroleum Institute, starts putting together the first real standardized oil classification system. Good move, right? Transparency for the consumer. Except here's what happened in the rooms where those standards got written. The additive chemical companies had seats at the table. ZDDP manufacturers, viscosity modifier suppliers, poor point depressant companies, all of them with a financial stake in what those standards required. Fast forward to 1989. That's when the API SG rating rolls out, and for the first time, you've got blanket restrictions starting to creep into what engine oil is allowed to contain at the factory fill and retail level. Then it accelerates hard through the 1990s with API SH, SJ, each iteration quietly strangling the concentration of zinc dialkyldothiophosphate, which is the primary anti-wear compound in conventional motor oil. By 2004, API SM is in the room, and ZDDP levels have been gutted, cut by nearly 50% from what they were in oils formulated in the late 1970s and 1980s. The official reason? Catalytic converter protection. The converters don't like high phosphorus. Fair enough. Except they use that legitimate concern as a Trojan horse to justify reformulating oils in ways that benefit the additive aftermarket. And here's the part that should make your blood boil. The dealers, the quick lube chains, and the big box parts stores all know this. They're not going to tell you because the profit margin on a $14 bottle of STP oil treatment or Lucas heavy-duty oil stabilizer is obscene compared to a quart of oil. Dealers will never tell you the real reason flat-tappet camshafts in classic engines started failing at epidemic rates in the mid-2000s, because it coincided almost perfectly with the ZDDP reformulation window. It wasn't age, it wasn't poor maintenance, it was the trap they set. And you have been paying for it twice. Once when you buy the underformulated oil, and again when you buy the stabilizer to compensate for what the oil is now missing. Here's what every serious engine builder, every vintage race mechanic, every guy who actually tears motors down for a living already understands, and what the fluid mechanics don't want you to know. Oil stabilizers, in their modern commercial form, are primarily high viscosity base oil with minor additive packages. That's it. When you crack open the SDS, the safety data sheet, on something like Lucas Oil Stabilizer, you'll find it's predominantly severely hydrotreated, heavy paraffinic petroleum distillates. Basically, very thick oil. You are paying a premium to add thick oil to your regular oil. Now, does that do something? Sure, marginally. Thick oil clings better. It creates a slightly thicker film between metal surfaces at startup. But here's what the SAE e-viscosity rating system, developed precisely to solve this problem, already accounts for. A properly spec'd multi-grade oil with the correct viscosity for your operating temperature already provides optimal film thickness across the RPM and temperature range your engine actually sees. When you add a high viscosity stabilizer to a 5W30, you're not improving the oil, you're disrupting a carefully balanced formulation, you're changing the viscosity index, you're potentially diluting the anti-wear additive package on a percentage basis, and you're introducing base stocks that weren't part of the original blending calculation. The specific technical reality is this: hydrodynamic lubrication, the condition where a full film of oil completely separates metal surfaces. That's what your engine operates in 95% of the time once it's at operating temperature. In hydrodynamic conditions, the viscosity of the oil is what matters, and it's already been spec'd by the manufacturer. The stabilizer isn't helping, it's just riding along. The critical window where chemistry actually matters is boundary lubrication, cold startups, high load, valve train contact. And the chemistry that protects in boundary conditions isn't viscosity, it's ZDDP, it's moly. It's the actual anti-wear additives in the formulation. A bottle of Lucas isn't meaningfully improving your ZDDP concentration. It's just making the oil thicker. Now, and this is the part that mechanics who've been around long enough know in their bones, there are specific engines and specific applications where extra anti-wear chemistry is genuinely needed. Pre-1980 flat-tappet pushrod engines, the GM 350, the Ford 302 prior to roller conversion, the Chrysler 318 Slant 6 and its flat-tappet variants. These engines were designed around oil with ZDDP concentrations of 1200-1400 ppm. Modern API SP and SN Plus oils run 600-800 ppm. That gap is real, and it kills camshafts. High lift, aggressive profile camshafts, any cam with more than 500 lift and a duration over 220 degrees at Mokaru U50 is generating valve train loads that push into boundary lubrication territory. These applications need real chemistry, not viscosity. Air-cooled engines. The Volkswagen Type 1, the Porsche 356 and early 911, the old BMW Post 2 series motorcycles, all air-cooled applications run higher oil temps and need specific formulations. And what's the documented solution the smart money has been using for years? ZDDP additive concentrate. Products like Driven Racing Oil's break-in oil additive, Compy Cam's engine break-in oil additive, or even straight ZDP concentrate from suppliers like Pengrade. $5 to $15 per oil change gets you a measured, controlled boost of exactly the chemistry your flat-tappet cam needs, not a blob of thick mystery oil. This is why mechanics buy old trucks, not for nostalgia. Because a 1978 Chevy C10 with a 350 or a 1985 Ford F250 with a 160 lets you run oil you can actually control. No variable valve, timing sensors that throw codes if you go slightly outside the OEM viscosity window. No active fuel management systems that demand full synthetic to prevent lifter collapse. Just a simple, honest engine you can feed correctly formulated oil and watch run for 300,000 miles. All right, enough burning down the house. Let's talk about exactly what you should be doing, what to buy, and what specific vehicles and years to look for if you're making a purchasing decision. Step 1. Know your engine's lubrication regime. If you're driving a modern engine, anything with roller lifters, which is basically every domestic gasoline engine built after 1987 on GM platforms and 1985 on Ford, you do not have a flat-tappet problem. Your engine does not need a ZDDP supplement. What it needs is oil that meets or exceeds the current API and ILSAC rating on the oil filler cap. Full stop. Do not add a stabilizer. Do not add a treatment. Change your oil on schedule with the correct viscosity and the correct certification level, and you are done. The specific thing to look for on the bottle, API SP, is the current top tier as of my recording this. For gasoline passenger vehicles, you also want ILSAC GF6A or GF6B. GF6B is the spec for 0W20 and lighter viscosities. If both those donuts are on the bottle, you have a properly formulated oil. Step 2. If you have a flat-tappet engine, stop buying the wrong product. Here's the exact shopping list. Comp cams. Engine break-in oil additive. This is the one I've run personally on flat-tappet cam break-ins. 1 bottle per oil change during break-in, then once every other change, after that on high-load applications. The formulation is ZDDP concentrate, precisely dosed. You know what you're getting. Driven Racing Oil BR break-in oil. If you're doing a full engine build with a new flat-tappet cam, just run this as your actual oil for the first 500-mile break-in. It's formulated with elevated ZDDP from the ground up, then transition to a conventional or synthetic with a ZDDP supplement. Rotella T4, triple protection, 15W40. This is the $5 bottle the additive companies don't want you to know about. Shell Rotella is a diesel-rated oil. Diesel oil specs, API CK4 being the current, do not have the same phosphorus restriction as gasoline engine oil specs because diesels don't run catalytic converters in the same configuration. Rotella T4 runs approximately 1,000 to 1,100 ppm ZDDP right out of the jug. For a lightly modified flat-tappet small block and a street driver, that is often sufficient on its own. A gallon jug of Rotella T4 runs about $22.24. That's your 5 oil changes of protection for what you'd spend on 1 bottle of a major brand stabilizer. Now, the viscosity question. Rotella T4 is a 15W40. That's thicker than a lot of modern recommendations. For a 1967 and 1985 small block Chevy, a 1979 Ford 302 or 351W, a pre-1978 Mopar 318 or 360, running in a climate where temperatures don't regularly drop below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, 15W40 is perfectly appropriate. T, his engines were designed around 10W30 and 10WW40 conventional oil at a time when those were much closer to a 15W40 in real-world performance than modern lightweight oils. If you're in a colder climate, a blend approach works well. Rotella T6, a 5W40, full synthetic. Also a diesel-spec oil, also with elevated ZDDP, but cold flow properties that'll get you down into negative temperatures without thick oil startup issues. Specific years and models to look for if you're shopping right now. If you want a truck that you can maintain with simple, correct chemistry and not fight the engine management computer every time, 1973, 1987 GM CK series trucks with the 350 TBI or carburetor. The 87 with TBI is especially sweet because you get fuel injection reliability without the complexity of sequential systems. These run a flat-tappet cam. Feed them Rotella T4 or a ZDDP supplement with a good conventional oil, and they'll outlast you. 1980, 1986 Ford F-Series with the 300 inline 6. This engine is so overbuilt it's almost insulting. 4.9 liters, cast iron everything, a torque curve that doesn't quit. The flat-tappet cam in these responds beautifully to proper oil chemistry. I've seen examples with documented 400,000 miles on the original short block. 1994, 2003. Dodge Ram with the 5.9 Cummins. This one's diesel, so the lubrication conversation is different. But the point stands, engines built before the era of DEF, DPF, EGR, and SCR systems are engines you can actually maintain. The P7100 injection pump generation, that's the 94 to 98 12 valve, is the one mechanics point to. Mechanical injection, no complex electronics. You understand every system in the truck. What to look for when you're inspecting these, check the valve covers, pull one if the seller will let you. You're looking for clean oil passages, minimal sludge, and lifter bores that show no signs of scoring. A well-maintained flat-tappet engine will have lifter bores that look almost machined clean. A neglected one, especially one that ran cheap oil with no ZDDP supplementation, will show gray scoring on the bore walls where lifter rotation failed. Check the oil. Pull the dipstick. Fresh oil should be amber. Oil that has turned gray-silver with metal content is telling you the engine has wear happening internally. Walk away or factor a full rebuild into your offer. Ask for records. Specifically, ask what oil they ran and how often they changed it. A previous owner who says, "I ran whatever was on sale on a flat-tappet engine," is a red flag. A previous owner who says, "I ran Rotella T4 and changed it every 3,000," is someone who understood what they owned. Here's the bottom line that I need you to understand before you click away. They want you trapped. The additive companies want you convinced that your engine is so fragile, so chemically compromised by design, that you need to buy a 12 or 18 bottle of their product every single oil change to keep it alive. The dealers want you on a service contract that uses OEM-approved fluids with margins high enough to fund a small country. The big box parts stores have entire end caps dedicated to products that exist primarily because the industry created a problem they could sell you a solution to. And the government, specifically the EPA's emission standards that drove the ZDDP reformulation, did not set those limits to protect your engine. They set them to protect the catalytic converter. Your engine's longevity was a line item consideration, not a priority. They do not want you to know that a diesel-spec oil and a $5 ZDDP additive can solve the problem they created, because solving it cheaply means you're not buying the approved aftermarket product. Here is how to fight back. 1. Read the SDS on every additive you've been buying. It's public record. Go to the manufacturer's website, pull the safety data sheet, and look at the ingredient list. When you see severely hydrotreated heavy paraffinic petroleum distillates, making up 80-90% of the formula, you'll understand what you've been perk. 2. Switch to a diesel spec oil if you have a flat-tappet engine. Rotella T4, Delo 400, Mobile Delvac. These are all diesel-rated oils with phosphorus levels that aren't hamstrung by gasoline emission standards. The compatibility with gasoline engines has been tested and documented by SEMA, by independent dyno labs, and by every engine builder worth list. 3. If you have a modern roller lifter engine, stop adding anything. The best thing you can do for a modern engine is run the correct API-rated oil at the correct viscosity and change it before the degradation curve bottoms out. That's it. That's the whole job. 4. Talk to other mechanics, not the service writer at the dealer, not the kid at the parts counter who's been working there 4 months. Find the guy in your area who's been turning wrenches for 30 years and ask him what he puts in his own vehicles. I will bet you that man is not running a stabilizer. He's running a clean, correctly spec'd oil with full knowledge of what's in it. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. Specifically, what engine are you running and what's your current oil strategy? Because there is no one-size-fits-all answer here. And the community knowledge in the comments on these videos is sometimes better than anything I can put in the script. If you found a solution that works, a specific oil, a specific additive at a specific dose, a specific combination for a specific engine, share it. That's the whole point of this channel. This is mechanic to mechanic information, the kind that used to get passed around at the back of a shop over a cup of bad coffee. We're just doing it at scale now, and I'll be honest with you, that terrifies the people who want you dependent on their products. Before they find a way to bury this kind of straight talk, subscribe, share this with the guys in your garage, and let's keep having the conversations the industry doesn't want us having.